In this video, I will show you how to make Fighter incredibly powerful in under 24 gear score. By the end, you will understand how to abuse this strength with an OP build and how to approach your fights. Just be warned, if you decide to use this, you may get angry messages. First off, why I feel qualified to share my opinion. I have roughly 3,000 hours of experience in Dark and Darker. I've played every class extensively in solos, duos, and trios, from starter gear all the way to the highest level of gear, including artifacts such as Viola and Elven Bow. Before we get started, hit that subscribe button below, as it allows you to see my helpful videos as soon as they release, so you can always have an edge against other players. Make sure you watch the whole video, as I will show examples of how this playstyle works. Fighter is the most popular class in Dark and Darker, and for good reason. He's the jack of all trades. Although he is a great character to learn with, I always felt in starter gear his PvP power was lacking. High gear plate fighter can reach around 60% PDR or higher. This is very strong, but he sacrifices move speed. Low gear plate fighter can only reach around 30% physical damage reduction with the same slow movement speed. I don't think the 30% PDR is worth how slow you become, so I don't recommend plate fighter for low gear. Recently, I've noticed a big resurgence of Slayer Fighter, so I did some theory crafting for low gear. Slayer Fighter perks give you 7 additional weapon damage and 15% action speed. This is incredibly powerful on fast swinging weapons. You'll be hitting around 30% harder and swinging much faster. This damage increase is the equivalent of going from a white short sword to a legendary short sword, and you can use this to fight against other players in base kit. There's also a mechanic with daggers that is way too strong and should definitely be nerfed, but more on that later. You can remain in under 24 gear score while still bringing one item in. The item I recommend is a green or blue pair of gloves with +1 additional or true physical damage. This brings up our damage total to +8 on our fast swinging dagger short sword combo. This build absolutely cooks other players in this gear bracket. The reason I'm not bringing in move speed boots is that we have sprint to allow us to catch even the fastest opponents, and I really like the additional +1 damage we get from our gloves. However, I will note bringing in base gloves with boots and move speed rolls is also a good alternative. Going over the perks quickly, we've got Slayer for the 5 additional weapon damage, dual wield, 10% action speed, sword mastery, 2 weapon damage and 5% action speed. Then we have weapon mastery. This one is a little bit flexible. You don't have to run this. You can technically run Swift to give yourself a little bit more movement speed. You could also run Adrenaline Spike for 15% action speed. This is actually quite good. And the last potential option would be Combo Attack, but I'm not a big fan because we don't have a very hard-hitting weapon. The physical damage bonus is not going to benefit us that much. For our skills, we have Second Wind and Sprint. Sprint is a requirement. Second Wind can be flexed with Adrenaline Rush, but I found in low gear I was getting more benefit out of Second Wind because people are not doing nearly as much damage, so the 40% max health made me feel a lot tankier. I also found that because I don't have as much damage in a higher kit, the action speed from Adrenaline Rush is not as beneficial, but it's personal preference between these two. For our loadout, we're going to bring the Squire boots, pants, short sword, Chris Dagger, or Rondell, whichever you prefer. I prefer Chris Dagger. If you don't have weapon mastery, you're going to bring a crossbow, but I really liked having weapon mastery to be able to bring a bow. Any bow is fine, but I was finding longbow to be the most effective, mainly because warlocks can be fought at a longer distance outside of their curse range, and longbow can be very effective at taking warlocks out, and that's honestly most of my solo lobbies is warlocks. And the one item we're going to be bringing in from the marketplace is our pair of gloves that are green or blue with additional or true physical damage. Now, if we look at our stats, we can see that we have 10% PDR, which I'm okay with. We're not wearing a shirt and no hat to maintain more movement speed. I'm also using the Lichen skin to gain 4 vigor and 10% headshot reduction. If you don't have this skin, you could also use this one for the extra armor. If you don't have either, it's not ideal, but you could probably want to bring a leather cap for headshot protection. However, it will slow you down by about 3 movement speed. Next, I will show you some PvP with some tips sprinkled in throughout. Then we will go over what the secret dagger mechanic is and why it's so OP. Ending off the video, we will discuss how to counter this build and which classes have the easiest time beating it. Enjoy the PvP. Player behind us, running in. Warlock. Let's get randomized. He doesn't know where to go though. Be his teammate. Both dead. Don't be afraid to put away your weapons and pull them out again because they pull out insanely fast. This is due to the interaction that daggers have, where because you have a dagger in your main hand, that is what determines how quickly you pull your weapons out and stow them away. This means your short sword actually pulls out faster than if you just had a short sword compared to a short sword and a dagger. The same thing applies to shields. This is why Buckler Fighter is able to pull out his shield and dagger instantaneously, and I really hope Iron Mace fixes this in the future because it is extremely overpowered.
Behind you. Oh, sorry.
Get Ranger in the head.
Yeah, nope.
Fighter. Ranger dead. Ranger's dead.
Uh-oh.
Please, sir.
Dead already.
Nice. Alright, so the things that counter this build are going to be high PDR and high HP. Play Cleric, Fighter, or Warlock for high PDR, and Barbarian and Bearform Druid for high HP. The only way to win these matchups is to keep your distance and soften them up with your bow. Do not engage in melee until you know for a fact they are low. Every other matchup is going to favor you, as this build is very strong. So in to play fighter, we're basically just going to play like we're a ranger. They have way too much PDR to go toe-to-toe with. They will beat us, guaranteed. So we utilize our higher movement speed and utilize our bow. We also do a little bit of bard cosplay as well to show off. And there we have it. Now we get a big payday through this gold ore. Hope you guys liked the video. Click here if you want to check out my other guides.